This is the Louie T Network.
Who else could it be? Me, me, Louie T. Welcome to lockdown coverage, week number 6 in the National Football League. The Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Chiefs, a sparkling 5-0, the only undefeated team left in the National Football League, coming into week number 6, taking on a Steelers team that was embarrassed at home last week versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. A lot of people weren't giving the Steelers a chance in this game. I was not one of them. I guaranteed on several programs this week a Steelers victory here because this is how the NFL goes, and more importantly, this is how the Steelers play. If you've been watching this Steelers team, this organization with Ben Roethlisberger at the helm, the killer bees of Bell, Bryant, Brown, and Ben for any amount of time, especially the big killer bees of Brown, Bell, and Ben, then you know this is what they do. Under Mike Tomlin, for some strange reason, I can't put my finger on it, they play down to the level of competition, whether it's Chicago in week 3, lost there, or week 4, lost there. I think it was week 3, they lose, they come back, they beat Baltimore, then they get embarrassed last week. So week 3 at Chicago, or last week versus Jacksonville. Even though we know that Jacksonville isn't terrible, they're still not a team that you are supposed to get destroyed at home by, but they do play defense through the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, in any event, but that's what the Steelers do. And when it comes to the upper echelon teams, the Denvers, the New Englands, the Kansas Cities of the world, that's when you get some of their best football. And so I knew and not to mention, they played this Chiefs team extremely well. They have the Chiefs number. Styles make fights, as we all know. And this Steelers team, their style and the way that they go about their business seems to interact well with this Chiefs team for some strange reason. Remember the ass whooping that they gave the Chiefs a couple of years back on a Sunday night after the Chiefs were embarrassed by the Eagles. Matter of fact, it might have been last year. Carson Wentz embarrasses the Steelers on the road. The very next week they come home Sunday Night Football in a messy, sloppy, rain-filled game. Destroy them. First half that game was over. So this is not new news to the Steelers. They know how to beat Kansas City. Beat them in the playoffs last year. Beat them again here. So this doesn't come as a shock to me. Maybe to some of you guys out there, but I saw this one coming a mile away. This is what the Steelers do. And the Chiefs were due for a loss, and we're going to talk about why they lost this football game a little bit later on. And the Chiefs were due for a big win. No, the sky is not falling in Pittsburgh, as I tried to relay to everyone last week. But this does not dispel all of the issues that the Steelers have. This is still a team that's still trying to find themselves. Make no mistake about it. But they needed this win. They went out and got this win. This was impressive, and we'll talk about it here in a second. But first, if you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? No, seriously, what are you waiting on? Subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content in 2017 and beyond. We're changing the game over here. I want you to help us do that by simply hitting that subscribe button and becoming a member of the Louie T Network. There are a number of different social media platforms that I have and that you have at your disposal to stay in tune with what's going on in this channel, Twitter being the most notable of them all, but there's also Instagram, there's also Facebook, all of them in the description down below, so make sure you take a gander at the description. There's a lot of information, a ton of information, including how to donate to this channel. The biggest donation outlet right now and the newest is Patreon. There's a lot of cool stuff on Patreon, and there's a number of exclusive things that you can be a part of if you are donating via Patreon. So that is out there. The link is in front of you. The link will also be in the description down below as well, along with PayPal, which is still an alternate option for some of you out there who want to go that route as well. But again, if you can donate, please do. If you can't, just continue to watch or support the channel as you have done. Like, share, and of course, subscribe if you haven't already done so. With that being said, This was a phenomenal football game. And for those of you who don't like low-scoring defensive football games and a lot of run, this was not for you. This was not for the faint of heart. This was a tough, grinded-out game as it generally is. Remember the playoff game last year, 18-16. Same type of deal here. A low-scoring affair. Defense is going to rule the day. A lot of run game. A lot of clock continuing to run. The Steelers have shown that they will run Le'Veon Bell into the ground if need be. This is the second game, if I'm not mistaken, this season where he has had over 30 carries in a ball game. So they are not afraid to continue to give it to their bell cow. Literally, their bell cow in Le'Veon Bell. L.Bell with a phenomenal day, and he usually torches the Chiefs. Did it again in this game. He was outstanding. And really one of the biggest reasons they were able to win this football game, the Chiefs did a really good job of pinning the Steelers deep in their own territory throughout this game. The Steelers had a ton of bad field position in this game, and yet Le'Veon Bell, L.Bell, was able to find his way out of the shadow of his own end zone with some outstanding runs. We know the patience is there. We know that he has a unique running style in this league, and you saw it on full display today. I thought he was tremendous. The blocking up front was outstanding for L.Bell as well. And Ben did a little something. It still isn't what we've come accustomed to. Easily could have been picked off by Phillip Gaines on that Antonio Brown touchdown to give them the 19-10 lead, which ultimately turned out to be the game-winning score in this game. That easily could have been picked off. He's still missing some throws, which is why I said this Steelers team is not back. Do not take this and run with it as, Steelers are back. They are playing better. This was a better performance by the Steelers. They're still not where they need to be. Ben still missed a ton of opportunities down the field, including missing the tight end Jesse James, streaking down the field wide open for what would have been a big chunk play early in this game. That's the play that they're missing right now. The deep ball and those big chunk plays down the field that Ben routinely hits throughout the course of his career, he's not hitting them this year. We saw him miss Bryant in the Bears game on the first possession. We saw him miss Bryant last week versus Jacksonville. We've seen him miss Bryant time and time again this season. We saw him miss him against Baltimore. You saw him miss Jesse James in this game. He's still not hitting the deep shots down the field on those chunk plays, and that's a big problem right now for the Steelers offense. If they want to get back to the Steelers that we've come to know and love, the Steelers that we know can put up 30 in the blink of an eye, they've got to hit those deep shots. They've got to be able to take advantage of the running of L.Bell. What good is it for him to go out and have 32 carries for 179 yards if the play action fake off of it isn't yielding big play, deep shot opportunities? Ben isn't hitting them when they do come available. That's a problem. But again, the killer bees stepped up in this game, most notably Antonio Brown, a.k.a. A.B., a.k.a. Tones, stepped up with arguably the biggest catch of the entire game. That circus catch where it is deflected off the helmet, through the hands, off the helmet of Phillip Gaines, who should have picked it off, into the air. One hand snatch out of the air by A.B., who stops in midair to avoid the hit of Sorensen and then takes off for the end zone and the go-ahead score in this game. Tremendous play. And they were up. So I shouldn't say go-ahead score. They were never trailing in this game, but it was 12-10, and the Chiefs were in a position where that was a third down. Keep that in mind. If that's not a completion there, they're going to get the football back. They're probably going to find a way to get at least a field goal to take the lead at 13-12. Still don't know how the game plays out at that point, but all the momentum was in the Chiefs' hands at that moment, and A.B. snatched it out of the air with that football and gave the Steelers the cushion that they needed to hold on for a 19-13 win in this football game. Phenomenal play by A.B. L.Bell was absolutely magnificent in this game, and that's why he wants to be paid, and that's why the Steelers won't pay him. It's a catch-22, damned if you do, damned if you don't. They're going to run the wheels off of this guy while he's on this one-year franchise deal. They're going to reignite talks, but I don't think he's going to get what he's seeking, and I don't think the Steelers are going to give him what he's seeking, and they're going to continue to run him into the ground because how much longer can he continue to do what he's doing? How many more years of this type of pounding? Like I told you, he's already had, I guarantee you, if we look up, in the first couple of games, he didn't get it a ton because they were working him back in slowly. But I guarantee you, he's up there among the league leaders in amount of carries. And hell, we could go a step further and go touches because he catches it out of the backfield for this Steelers team too. And they know that. They are using him up. And I don't know if they're comfortable giving him the type of money and the deal that he's seeking. And so we'll see what happens in the offseason. One thing's for sure, this team cannot function without Le'Veon Bell. So something will have to give, or they'll have to give him another franchise deal. He's not going to be gone, I can tell you that much. They're going to franchise him at worst case scenario, but he's such a big part of what they do offensively, and you saw that in this game. And when he's running like this, it's going to be pretty tough to stop this Steelers football team as they get it done in this football game, 19-13. Still waiting on Bryant to Big Ten to kind of come back to the forefront and be a big part of this offense. I like what I'm seeing out of the young rookie out of USC, Smith-Schuster. That looks good. He continues to make all the tough catches over the middle of the field. I'd like to see a little bit more of the Pitt product, your rookie running back, Connor, because I think that can take a little bit of the load off of Le'Veon Bell. But when he's running like this, I know that they don't want to take him out of the football game. But I'd like to see them kind of lessen the load and make him a lot fresher. We see him wear down at the end of seasons because of games like this where he's touching it almost 40 times. You'd like to see Connor, this is what they drafted him for, to kind of take some of that load off of Bell. But in any event, Steelers, I thought, did a magnificent job up front protecting Ben and opening holes in the run game. Give that offensive line some credit. You lose your right tackle who came back off of the injury, Marcus Gilbert, who came back off the injury, the hamstring, re-aggravated it. You got to put Hubbard back in there, and I thought he was outstanding along with the rest of this offensive line of creating holes and giving Ben the ample time that he needed to find guys down the field. And so a big win for the Steelers on the road. They needed this win. And with the rest of that division looking the way that it looks, it's not going to take much to win this division. 10 wins will probably get it done in the AFC North, maybe even 9 with the way this division is heading up. And so if you're Pittsburgh, this is a big win on the road as we go to the defense of the Steelers in this game. I thought they were phenomenal all day long. They did the one thing you got to do against Kansas City, and that's stop the run. Make Alex Smith beat you, which he has been willing and able to do this season, okay? But that's still got to be priority number one. Stop the run game. Don't allow Kareem Hunt to go over 100 yards rushing, which everyone has been seeming to do over the first 5 weeks of the season. Don't allow him to go over 100 yards. Don't allow him to kill you out of the backfield. Well, he did that in the second half, but it took him some time to get into that rhythm and timing of the offense. And so I give the Steelers all the credit in the world defensively for making it tough on the Chiefs to get into any kind of offensive rhythm by taking away what they wanted to do, which is run the football with Kareem Hunt. We've seen Hunt be stopped in the first half of games. We've seen Hunt be stopped in the first 2.5 to 3 quarters of games. And then we've seen him explode in the fourth quarter. Well, the Steelers didn't allow him to do that on the ground. He did, however, start to make his impact be felt in this game through the air in the passing game. But nonetheless, credit the Steelers for being aggressive, for being physical, and for taking the Chiefs out of their comfort zone in this football game and making them play from behind. The Chiefs have been front runners this entire season. Chiefs have not been trailing in many games this year. I think the game that they trailed the most in was the Patriots game in week number 1, and we saw what they did in the fourth quarter of that ball game. They've been notorious for being a big-time fourth-quarter team this year. Credit the Steelers defensively, again, for not allowing the Chiefs to explode. They had opportunities, including a big 4th and 2 stop. Great defensive play by the Steelers in the end zone to get that football out of Demetrius Harris's hands, because that was a hell of a catch. Almost near catch by Harris in the end zone, and a number of Steeler defenders rake it away, including Tyler Matakevich and Sean Davis. So I thought the Steelers did some really good things defensively in this game. I thought Vince Williams was everywhere prior to his injury. They look really good. They look ferocious. They look physical. They're aggressive. Stephon Tuitt makes a huge difference up front. I'm glad that injury that he sustained in week 2, I believe it was not serious, because he is such a big part of what they do up front. It allows them to control the pocket and get after the opposing quarterback without having to send a ton of blitzes. And even when they do blitz, they get a lot of pressure due the Pittsburgh Steelers with what they do defensively. And so this was a very impressive game. Artie Burns continues to gain confidence out at the cornerback position. I thought he had an exceptional game. This is a team gaining confidence defensively, and they're going to have to play this type of ball defensively because this offense, I don't know. At one point, I felt like the Patriots, they'll figure it out. It's the Patriots. They'll figure it out. It's the Steelers. That offense will click, and nobody will be able to stop them. I don't know if that's happened. Much like I've come to the conclusion with the Patriots, they're not going to be good defensively this year. They have some deficiencies that you can't fix in the middle of the season. I'm not saying that the Steelers are in the same exact boat offensively, but I don't know if that light switch is ever coming on. So in that case, this defense is going to have to hold it down. And if they keep playing like this, they're going to have a legitimate shot of being one of the best teams in the AFC come January. We will see, but this is a huge win, and I thought the defense was the story. Not the offense, not Le'Veon Bell, not Antonio Brown's amazing catch. The defense was the story of this game for the Steelers and their ability to take Kareem Hunt in the ground game out of the game, force Alex Smith to win this game, get after Alex Smith, make him uncomfortable, keep them out of any type of offensive rhythm for 3 quarters, and really put them behind the 8 ball and force them to have to throw it exclusively in the 4th quarter as they try to mount a comeback. But in doing so, keeping them out of the end zone, if not for that defensive breakdown when, again, you let Alex Smith out of the pocket, and this is what can happen, and the touchdown pass to the Black Mamba, Thomas, you probably don't give up a touchdown in this game. So hats off to the Steelers defensively. I thought they were the difference in this football game. Steelers special teams almost let this team down in this ball game, though. That situation with the punt after the safety can't happen. Got to have that football. That can't bounce and go around on the ground and allow the Chiefs, who were struggling, reeling early in this game, to get a break there, and that ended up being 3 points. So gotta have that not be a fumble. Gotta clean that up. But again, Steelers defensively outstanding in this game. Le'Veon Bell outstanding in this game. And you know the two things that if you are able to do them on the road, you're going to win in this league: run the football, play defense. Steelers did both of those things. They win this football game. You go to the Chiefs in this game, and for the first time this year, they looked uncomfortable on the offensive side of the football. This is the first time this season this Chiefs team didn't look comfortable. You know why they didn't look comfortable? And it's funny. We trash their receivers all the time. All the time. I know I'm guilty. I'm like, they don't have any. But I always tell you that that's what makes them so dangerous, because it's a selfless, nameless offense outside of their rookie running back in Kareem Hill, Tyreek Hill, and their tight end, Travis Kelce. This is a nameless offense. So when you start talking Chris Conley, people are like, who? When you start talking Albert Wilson, people are like, what? When you start talking about all of these other guys that you don't hear about very often, no one knows who you're talking about. That's what makes this offense so effective, is that all of these guys can get you. They didn't have Albert Wilson, who was down with an injury. They don't have Chris Conley for the remainder of the season. They were depleted offensively. You saw a lot more of Demarcus Robinson than you would like to if you're a Chiefs fan. And it hurt you in this game. There was no offensive rhythm because those guys weren't in the lineup. Again, credit the Steelers for stopping the run and forcing the passing game of the Chiefs, which was inept in this game for 3 quarters, to have to beat them. But the lack of offensive rhythm and flow because of all the injuries, I think it hurt this Chiefs football team in this game. But again, no excuses. Travis Kelce not having a catch until deep into the 3rd quarter, into the 4th quarter, inexcusable. That can't happen. Your best player has to get a touch. And you saw you got him a touch. The first catch he had was a hitch that you were trying to set up a screen on. That's how he needed to touch the football a quarter and a half earlier. It shouldn't be 3 quarters into the game until your best player touches the football on the offensive side of the ball. No excuses for that. All right, you know you're coming into this game without Conley, without Albert Wilson. You need to make sure that Hill gets 7 or 8 touches, Kelce gets 7 or 8 touches, and then you dominate out of the backfield. Losing Charkandrick West at the end of the first half, that was a big blow. He was huge last week versus Houston. So this was a depleted Chiefs offense, make no mistake about it. But they didn't do the things that this team has done early in the season execution-wise to alleviate all of the mistakes, all of the injuries that they had And so they could have made it a lot easier on themselves had they gotten the ball to Tyreek Hill sooner. Had they gotten DeAnthony Thomas, who I thought needed to be more involved in this offense, he should have been utilized in the Albert Wilson role on the offensive side of the football, being that you got all these guys missing. I thought DeAnthony Thomas was a guy that needed to be on the field a little bit more, use him in some creative situations. I just didn't think they utilized the personnel that they did have available until it was too late, until the Steelers got a little soft in their coverages because they were trying to keep everything in front of them. I thought they waited too late to be aggressive in this football game, and it cost them offensively. This is still a dangerous team. This one loss, all it does is take the pressure off of them of being undefeated now. This is still the cream of the crop in the AFC West. This is still one of the best teams in the AFC. And offensively, I want to see how they make the adjustment now because Albert Wilson will be back. But Chris Conley won't be back. And I think we sometimes, guys that don't have the gaudy numbers and the stats, we sometimes undersell and undervalue their role in an offense. He was the tough guy that would block. He was a guy that would make the tough catches over the middle. And he was a guy that if you were too nosy, could stretch the field. We know that Chris Conley can run. And so I think he was undervalued in this offense. His injury last week on the onside kick, the Achilles tear, that's going to be a big blow to this Chiefs offense. And I want to see how they're able to circumvent that because this team didn't look like they had a rhythm offensively because of all of the injuries. And so we'll see about the concussion for Charkandrick West. We'll see about the injury for Wilson and if he's able to play in the next game. And we'll see how they're able to overcome the injury to Conley because tonight I didn't see a team that was prepared to deal with the amount of injuries that they had going into this game. And I don't know if they thought the run game would be more prolific, but it wasn't. And when they had to go to Plan B looked awful for 3 quarters until things started to open up in the fourth quarter. And again, a lot of that opened up because the Steelers began to be less aggressive and started playing soft zone coverage to try to keep everything in front of them, which ultimately they didn't on one particular play to DeAnthony Thomas. But in any event, this Chiefs offense was out of sync, out of rhythm for three and a half quarters, and that's what really cost them this ball game. You go to, and also having that turnover, and this is a Chiefs team that doesn't turn the football over. Can't have those types of mistakes. That safety loomed large late in this ball game because you were down 10-12 at one point. Without the safety, it's 10-10. It's a different ball game. So again, all of that plays into the psyche of the game. Again, at the end, you're looking to win this game, not looking to try to get a touchdown and try to get back into this game. So things change when you have those types of mistakes. That's a 2-point mistake that in the grand scheme of things changes the dynamics of this game moving forward. And so those are the types of mistakes that this team hasn't made all season. They made it in this game, and it came back to haunt them. You go to the defensive side of the football. I've said this a number of times this season, especially after the Redskins game. This is not a great Chiefs defense. This is not one of the best products Bob Sutton has put on the field. First of all, I'm seeing way too much of Justin Houston running down the field, trailing a tight end who is beating him on a play this season. This is getting out of hand now. He is dropping into coverage way too often for me. And people are asking, why does the quarterback have so much time? Because you're dropping your best pass rusher into coverage way too much for me. On that play down by the end zone, when Ben had 35 seconds in the end zone to slide across and create more time in the pocket in the end zone to find his tight end who got chucked on the play by Derek Johnson like 7 yards down the field, which impeded his progress, which should have allowed the rush to get there. There was no rush, and Ben just slid over, bought an extra 3 seconds, and allowed the tight end to run the post across the field and get wide open against Justin Houston, who shouldn't be running with him in coverage. Why is he not coming after the quarterback in a crucial situation like that? Makes absolutely no sense. But like I said, this is not a great Chiefs defense. At best, they're good. They're not great. They don't make plays on the football in the secondary. Evidence with that Phillip Gaines play. I know that ball got on him kind of quickly. He turned his head. The ball was there. But you got to make a play on that. You can't have it go off your helmet and then allow A.B. to run for the touchdown. Sorensen comes over. I don't know what he was trying to do on the play. If you're going for the kill shot, you go for the kill shot, but do something. Don't come over and just fly by. That was horrendous. And he got killed all day as he was the guy down in the box. He missed a ton of tackles. This Chiefs defense as a whole missed a ton of tackles on Le'Veon Bell, giving him a ton of yards after contact. This defense could not stop the run all afternoon long. Credit that Steelers offensive line. Credit Le'Veon Bell for the patience that he exuded throughout the course of the game. But there are opportunities to make tackles out in space. They failed to do so in this football game. The Chiefs had the Steelers pinned deep in their own territory for much of the afternoon and continuously let them out of the shadow of their own end zone, whether it be via the ground or Ben Roethlisberger having all day to throw. There was little to no pressure. After the opening possession sack by D Ford on the third down, I don't know if they got to Ben Roethlisberger the remainder of the game. Their inability to get to the quarterback, their inability in this particular game to stop the run, that's going to be troublesome. I think this is a Chiefs team you can move the football on. Now, I will give them credit. They buckle down a lot of times as you move it down the field and try to force you to kick field goals. But this is a Chiefs team, and I said this against the Redskins, and I said it last week against Houston when they gave up a ton of points in that game. This is a Chiefs defense that is vulnerable. You can move the football on them, and if you can find a way to put it in the end zone and put pressure, and I've said this, and I know that this offense was drastically different with all the injuries, but this is not a Chiefs offense that I expect to keep up on this torrid pace of 30-some-odd points every single week. This is a Chiefs offense that I think is more along the lines of 20 to 23 points, and they expect their defense to be able to keep teams under 20. Well, I'm not sure that this defense is equipped to do that this year, and you saw another game in which this defense was gashed, and the Steelers had their way on the ground, and they really didn't have to throw the football very often, and when they did, there was some success. Ben missed some things, and of course, that fluky play with Antonio Brown ended up being the difference in the game. But nonetheless, too many opportunities for the Steelers to convert, too many opportunities for the Steelers on the ground, too many opportunities for the Steelers for yards after contact in this football game. This Chiefs defense right now, to me, isn't what it used to be. And the backbone of this offense, which has backbone of this team, which has for years been the defense, I think is now the offense. And that's a little scary for me with this Chiefs football team. But nonetheless, they had opportunities in this game. I didn't agree with Andy Reid going for it on 4th and 2. Had it been 4th and 1, maybe. I didn't agree with the 4th and 2 call. You're down 2 scores there. You need a field goal. At that point, it was 12-3. A field goal gets you within 1 score. The Steelers were struggling to score points. I would love to put the pressure of them having to at least score once more, because if they don't, they could lose this game 13-12 with a touchdown. Instead, you take that option out of the hands of your football team by going for 2 there. Almost converted. Hell of an effort by Demetrius Harris, but even better play by the Steelers defensively. I just didn't like that. I thought they were over-aggressive there. Take the points. It's a low-scoring game. It's one thing if it's a game in which you're moving the football effectively. You know, look, these guys can't stop us. So whether we take the points here or we don't, we're going to get back down here again. There's no telling how many times you're going to get back down there, and that might have played into the thought process. Look, I don't know how many times we're going to get back down here, so we need to get a touchdown. But in a game that low scoring, you take the points. Hell, you might have been able to kick 3 field goals and tie this thing up at 12 for all you know. Don't put yourself in a position where you take a scoring opportunity in a low-scoring game such as this one off the board and put your team in a tough spot where they're going to need 2 scores as the clock is starting to dwindle. I didn't like that call at all. But anyway, if it had worked, we would have called him a genius. It didn't work. We second-guess, and that's what we do. So in any event, Steelers get the win. Big road win. After an abysmal showing last week, they bounced back with a Steelers-esque win. This is what we've come to expect from the Steelers over the years, and they delivered in a major way, 19-13 over the Chiefs, snapping the Chiefs' 5-game winning streak to start the season, and also besting the league's final undefeated team. There are no more undefeated teams remaining in the NFL as the Chiefs fall to 5-1 with the 19-13 loss at Arrowhead. So let's get to your comments and on this one. Cloud says, I hate these unpredictable football weeks. And every week is unpredictable, it seems like. I keep thinking I got a handle on what's going on, and you just don't right now. BE says, AP all day. Woo! And yes, I know this isn't the Cardinals recap. Well, I'm glad you know. Cloud says, I think that hold on 84 no, that was a legit holding penalty. And I was screaming holding, and he could have got away with it. Demetrius Harris was so sloppy on that hold. It's one thing to hold. It's another thing to hold, tug, grab, and don't let go until the very last second. He got away with that holding penalty. That official was not going to call it until he had that last tug and then shove. Bruh, let him go. You already been holding for the whole damn play and got away with it. Let him go. That was a great call by the officials, the right call. You can't do that in that situation. It's a terrible decision on his part. And you see it so often in this league. It's ridiculous. BE says, best I could do is 7-7, but I don't care because, hey, I feel the same way as you, BE. I don't give a damn right now. Redskins won. I feel good. End of discussion. You feel great. Your Cardinals won. End of discussion. It is what it is. Another crazy week in the league this week, and so we'll see what happens. LL says the Chiefs only had like 10 yards in the first half. It was a struggle. It was a struggle. Kareem Hunt couldn't get it going. And it's crazy because I've seen teams bottle up Kareem Hunt in the first half of games. The Redskins had Kareem Hunt bottled up at one point. He had 7 carries for 11 yards, and then he exploded. Remember last week against the Texans, at one point he was 11 carries for 11 yards, and then he exploded in that game. I was waiting for the explosion. It never came in this game. So, again, credit that Steelers defense. Chief Keef says, can't wait to see how the Chiefs adjust this Thursday. I'm expecting Alex to be fired up after missing some huge throws today. He did miss some throws. There's the touchdown to Robinson. If he could, now he was under duress. But we've seen Alex Smith make some pinpoint accurate throws down the field this year under duress with time in the pocket. It hasn't mattered this year. He's been lights out, and that was an opportunity missed down the field. Another throw to Robinson. I believe it was Robinson, where Ryan Shazier vacates the zone, leaves him wide open. That would have been for the game because I believe if he hits Robinson in stride there's nothing but green grass and opportunity in front of Robinson. I see a couple of Chief defenders, offensive players down the field that can get a block. I think he springs into the end zone, and the Chiefs might steal this one 20-19. So Smith missed some opportunities in this game. I expect them to bounce back on Thursday versus the Raiders as well. Cloud says, you think the Chiefs will have a 2016 Minnesota Vikings for the Philadelphia Eagle type season? No, they're not going to fall off the face of the earth. They're too good. They're too well coached. And even though they've got injuries, this team is fundamentally sound. Unlike those teams that you're mentioning, they have the ability to take care of the football. They're not going to beat themselves. They're not going to self-destruct. And despite the injuries, there are enough playmakers on this football team to get them through a rough patch that may be coming down the road, that may hit them now. Whatever the case may be, this is a good football team. They can run the football. Alex Smith is still taking care of the football, despite not being his sharpest today. Still taking care of the football, not making a ton of mistakes. This is a good Chiefs football team, and they're not going to fall off the face of the earth like the Vikings and Eagles did a season ago. Jay Orion says, picking games this year has been hell. It has been, just because the Falcons allowed the Dolphins, who couldn't score, who couldn't bust a grape, all right, offensively for the last month, let them come in their house and let Jay Ajayi run roughshod all over them and destroy them in their own house. It's games like that where you just can't call it. Cruising 26 says, start your draft series for us Giants fans. Ha ha, Rosen, here we come. Hey, it's too early for that, but hey, it's not. Look, I don't even want to watch this Giants game tonight. I'm going to see if the NFL will allow me to start a game up, because I expect that game to be over by some point in the third quarter. Chief Keef says, who you got this Thursday? I've already pretty much given you a heads up as to who I've got, but you got to watch my Wednesday show for me to kind of make sure. I got to watch that Raiders game to see how they lost. I'll tell you exactly who I have on my Wednesday winners and losers program, so be sure to check that out, and I'll give you my picks there on Wednesday. So with that being said, that's going to do it for this breakdown. Chiefs get, I've been so used to saying Chiefs get the win. Steelers get the win on the road in Arrowhead. That is 3 straight against this Chiefs team, if I'm not mistaken, for the Pittsburgh Steelers as they go into Arrowhead and win 19-13. Le'Veon Bell was outstanding in this game. So was the Steelers defense for much of this football game, destroying the Chiefs up front in that ground game and really holding Alex Smith to nothing until later on in the game when they were allowing things underneath. If you're the Chiefs, a lot of guys out. You just kind of wipe this one away, sweeping under the rug, and you move on. Quick turnaround Thursday night football against a struggling Raiders team who has dropped 4 straight. They're hungry for a win to snap that 4-game losing streak. So you're going to have to buckle it up and hopefully find a way to get back to your winning ways on Thursday night. And this is a good Chiefs football team. Just didn't have their fastball today. Had a lot of guys out. It showed offensively. Didn't look good defensively. Couldn't stop the run. And when plays needed to be made, Phillip Gaines, football right there to be made, a play there to be made, I should say, right through his hands, off his helmet, into the hands of Antonio Brown. The rest is history. So Steelers 4-2 now take the lead in the AFC North Division. Meanwhile, Chiefs remain in the lead in the AFC West Division, but now drop their first game at 5-1. And now the Broncos, coming off their bye, have a cupcake tonight versus the Giants. You fully expect them to go to 4-1 on the season. So they've got company atop that division. They're still going to be in first place, but not by much, as the Broncos are breathing down their neck. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie T Network. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. I've got plenty more breakdowns to come. Of course, Sunday Night Football overtime. That's going to be a bad one. Trust me, this one could get ugly quick. So if it does, I'll be up here early. I won't make you wait, okay? If it gets ugly early, we will knock it out early and we'll move on because, again, we don't have time for these shenanigans. The Giants can't score. They don't have any receivers. The Broncos are coming off a bye. They're good on defense. This one could get ugly fast. We'll see what happens. In any event, I got plenty more breakdowns. Whatever the case may be, you know where to turn it to. Be back here for the breakdown of that Sunday night game. And we're going to probably knock down some lockdown coverage tonight as well. I'll see you a little bit later on. Have a good one. Enjoy the game tonight. Try to at least.